Good morning and welcome all you happy people to WWT Live, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet. I'm your hostess, Wrestling with Honey. We are in the land of sharpshooters and sleepers, apparently, and we have a lot to talk about going into our NXT post show right here, so stay tuned.
Yeah, now I'm gonna go off. This is Shayna, the Queen of Spades, Baszler, and you're watching Women's Wrestling Talk.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Good morning, and I hope you've all had your breakfast, coffee, tea, whatever your preference is, because it's time to get into some NXT, if you will. I'm your hostess, Wrestling with Honey, here on WWT Live, again, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet, and we have lots to talk about. A lot of interesting things happened last night, and I can't wait to get into it here with you guys. And I am not alone. I am here with some great people who've taught me the ropes. I'm still learning my way around. I got the professor in the building.
Hey, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm doing well, doing much better now that we're doing this. It's
been a long time coming. Yeah, it's been a long time
indeed.
coming. So I'm excited that we're getting to do this NXT post show.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. So thank you all for tuning in, and make sure you guys have your popcorn ready, because there's a lot to talk about from last night. I mean, if popcorn is your thing in the morning, I don't know, but hey, you never know. Let's see. Shout out to everybody already in the visuals. I see you guys checking it out in the chat. So I'm just going to let's see. We also have. Oh wait a minute. She's not joining us. Is she joining us? No, she's not joining us.
Oh, yeah, she is. She's
joining us. She is joining us. The boss lady is in the building, y'all. It's early on her side of the woods, so we just got to make sure we ease her on in the morning and just give her some love, being that there is a new Trick Willie era on our hands. So let's welcome the boss lady, TK, here. What's up?
Starting off with the shade, though. That's what we did.
As you can see, it's bright over here. It's really bright.
Wow. Shady this morning. Okay.
I like it.
Good shade. I promise. Good shade. But yeah, so last night we started on the cusp of a new era, which was really awesome. Trick Willie kicked it off, and we had a very interesting segment in the beginning with Lash Legend appearing up in the ring looking like her goddessy self. First of all, I believe somebody said, I don't know who said it in the group chat, but somebody said that she looked like one of the singers from Hercules. So in the Disney movie, which was hilarious. I'm almost positive that could have been said. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it, but might have to recheck that group chat. But either way, Lash Legend showed up last night, and let's just get into the question. Like, what is in the envelope? What is she talking about? What is she hinting at about it getting very hot? Being that summer is on its way and we're heavy into spring already. Like, what do you guys think of that? Like, what's going on there? Oh,
she's muted and she doesn't. I know she's spitting fire right now.
I was gonna say she's spitting.
I was like, is that the question though, or is there a lot of HR violations that were happening? Like, and I'm all for a good sexual harassment. Let me tell you. But
well,
I was like,
find this quickly.
well,
I was watching it, and I was just like, I mean, I know it's going way over children's heads, but this is the talk that I get into at my office, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is kind of feisty. And then it furthers the rumors. I don't know if we have any confirmation or not if they're actually dating, but the way he looked at her,
I have confirmation, but carry on.
Oh. The way he looked at her was like a snack he's had before, which is a good thing. I like to see them together. But I'm all for the HR violations, but I don't know if it's necessarily encouraging for regular people in their office. But other than that, the envelope part was like literally, I was taking notes as the envelope part was literally like the last thing on my list. I was like, all these innuendos, like, oh my. So
MDB already. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
Blames
Yeah.
Jacob DeLawrence. Hashtag. Gotta love it.
It's screenshot and it's being sent to him now. Thank you, MDB.
So, Professor, what about you? What do you think of the debauchery between Trick and Lady Lash Legend last night?
You know, Lash Legend has really come into her own. You know, from the time she debuted during NXT 2.0 and she had her, talk show and things like that, to her first match, which, many were not very kind about. But her progression has been wild. It has been beautiful to see. And then to see this interaction with her and Trick, I believe it was the great Earth, Wind, and Fire that said, "Can't hide love." And you can't chemistry that you see here, you can't hide. You can't fake it.
I need to mute my
screen. I'm telling you. And so this here, this here was the answer for the world today. Trust me. I will tell you, everybody I think sat back and watched this last night with varying opinions, right? But they all felt something. The live crowd was like, oh, ooh. Yes. And you could tell the looks on their faces. They were having fun.
That part.
Now, I will say this, and I hope this doesn't blow anybody's cover since I already alluded to it. When I was at Wale Mania, he was there. He had a spot, of course, with Carmelo Hayes. But I was backstage, and in being backstage, he and Lash were definitely together. They were taking pictures together, all the things. So watching this play out is beautiful. And I will say this. The cool part about this scenario is it feels like the women want to be Lash and the guys want to be Trick. This is the ideal space you want to be in right now. Yeah, Trick is winning right now. He's winning. He is winning. And in terms of what's in this envelope, here's what's funny. She's saying things are going to get hot. You mean hotter than they were last night?
That part.
It was hot. I mean, wow.
I mean, I'm just saying, even from the instance when they had their little smooch fest weeks ago, it just seems like things are just going to get a little hotter and hotter as they progress, as rightfully so, being that they are a pretty hot couple. We're not going to lie here. And I do recall TK and I'm I don't want to out anybody out either, but I recall TK and I leaving.
Here we go.
We were leaving media day, and we did see Lash Legend and Trick hanging in the hotel lobby at the restaurant, just chilling.
Yeah, they were with everybody else. So I as a person who has friends of the opposite sex, I never want to say, they're just hanging out. You know what I'm saying? So I looked at it like, I don't know. I'm not gonna be in y'all's business. If you guys could be acting, you guys look good together. But I'm not gonna guesstimate. But Teflon G said he confirmed he saw the pictures, he saw the etc. So
he saw what he saw.
I saw them taking
pictures.
I saw, but listen. I'm gonna call them H2O because they have amazing chemistry. They are incredible.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes with that envelope. I mean, I'm not sure if it could possibly be a setup somehow, or maybe she's just playing around with him because Metaphor is gonna come on in because there's a lot still going on with that, and she's still a part of Metaphor. I'm not sure if this is going to take her away from that, being that she's so into Trick Williams and this new era that he's into right now. So it's a lot. I seen it. I seen it, MTV. Now, who would we say would be, since we're on Trick Williams and his new era, who would we say that could be possibly his next opponent and challenger for that title? Boss lady, I'll start with you.
I was gonna say I was thinking Wesley, but Wesley showed up later on, which we'll definitely talk about.
Mhm.
Gosh, that's a good question. I have to run down the oh, that's funny. MDB 999 saying Norm Dar. Monet Talk saying I think she's Trick Williams. I mean, that's a LA reference if you know anything about that. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what's in the envelope.
Maybe it's a contract for a possible match with Noam Dar, or who's to say it won't happen. I forget the other guy's name because I'm so not into metaphor like that, but I forget the other guy that's with them. But maybe it could be one of them, or maybe something entirely different. Mensa. Professor, what do you think?
I'm very curious because, she was carrying that envelope around even before Trick won the championship. And I was wondering, like, what's in this envelope? Like, what is this? I feel like she could ultimately be the key to him ultimately losing the title. And I don't think that that's going to happen immediately, but I think she's going to be the key to it. And I hope she's not feeling, like Kendrick Lamar at this point, where she's just saying, hey, listen, don't tell any lies about me, and I won't tell the truth about you. She's got something in that envelope that's going to cause him to have to be connected to her. I think she's about to really start to see some real character development with Lash Legend. And I think because of this, yeah, he's going to be tied to her almost unwillingly.
Oh my goodness, these comments really quick. I just have to say, MDB, she's about to hit Trick with that "you are the father." I cannot deal, MDB. Monet Talk says you are absolutely right, Professor. So you might be hitting the nail on there somewhere. I definitely would have to agree. We're just gonna have to wait and see what happens, and this is what inclines us to keep on watching. So we'll see next week.
It's my favorite 2 hours of TV.
Yeah. So now going into the ladies, if you guys don't mind, let's transition into the ladies. We also have we had an announcement from the general manager, Ava, last night about NXT Battleground. It is now going to be a ladder match for the North American Women's Championship, the same way it was done for the Men's North American Championship. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I'm all for equality, so it's a good thing. I also, you're talking about Professor how Lash is coming to her own. I think Ava is also coming to her own as manager, just the look, the way she's carrying herself, even her makeup, because and then it's nothing wrong with her makeup before, but her makeup before, even a couple weeks ago, said more like trying to be GM, whereas the look she had yesterday was just like, nah, I am the boss lady. I am making decisions, all the stuff. So definitely, I'm excited for that. But yeah, the ladder match is going to be a good thing. I'm all for equality, and we might make the announcement sooner or later. But if you actually read, I'm going to just do plugs for Becky Lynch's book,
Yes, we should. We really should.
She really talked about women's equality and not necessarily, and I don't necessarily know if I agree with her on this part, but having a women's pay-per-view per se, but having just the equal, if men could do it, women could do it as well, in the same sphere. So yeah, I'm for that, and let's see. Vegas is going to be crazy.
Now we have 4 women who have qualified to be a part of this match. We have Sol Ruka, we have Mi Jin, who has just turned up and entered the chat in NXT, which was a very big surprise. And then we also have, hold on one second, sorry guys. We also have, who else was a part of that segment? I don't know why I'm blanking on that. It's fading for me, but.
So let me ask the question, because I didn't think that they had qualified yet. I think they said that they were going to do the qualifications based on this combine that's going to happen.
It's going to be 12 superstars, and then 6 will compete at Battleground.
So a gauntlet.
So yeah, it's going to be those 12 will have a match, and the winners of those matches will end up in the ladder match. What's interesting with them taking this from the combine, and Jada Parker was a part of that, as was Sol Ruka last night. What I think is so interesting about the combine period is this is not based on in-ring work. It's actually based on who's the overall best athlete to enter into that. And so they might still have this on the WWE network on Peacock, but they used to have they actually had whole shows dedicated to these combines, where the combine was, showing your strength, your endurance, all of those things. And I remember like Bianca Belair just wearing those folks out. Like she won by leaps and bounds. And so, to have 12 women qualify obviously speaks to the depth of the women's roster in NXT, that you clearly have more than 12 women. And we're looking to see who the best athletes are. And from that, they'll go into these matches, which is a very different way of qualifying for this women's championship. I don't think something like that has been done, certainly in NXT before, where they're like, okay, we're going to figure out who the best athlete is, and you get to qualify, as opposed to, who the best wrestlers are. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see who qualifies, because it makes sense. If you're going to be in a ladder match, like, you really have to have your stuff about you, because you're going to have a lot of endurance. You're going to have to be able to be extremely athletic. So this ought to be a really, really good watch. And I hope that they air this combine somewhere so we can watch how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. So Ruka, I could see her entering that even. Oh, and Ariana Grace was a part of that segment last night. Which
she was.
Ariana Grace, honestly, I must say, she's growing on me immensely. Let's see. FDB says here, Lola Vice versus Lash Legend for the Women's North American Championship could feed families for generations. You might have a point there. It's pretty funny though. There's so many other possibilities, especially now that Lyra Valkyria has moved up to Raw. It leaves room for other women to come to the forefront for this combine. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting. If I had to make a pick now, like, because I did see here, Monet Talk says, who do you guys think would be the first champion? I wouldn't mind it being Ariana Grace. I really wouldn't, because she's stepping her game up, and she's for the women, and she's all about her grace and her standards and her high standards and keeping the NXT women's division afloat, and she's doing a really good job at it. So she's got me sold on it. Monet Talk also says possibly Sol Ruka. MDB here says some people say Ava shows too much belly button. Listen, y'all need to leave her alone. Leave the general manager alone. Matt Spano, good to see you.
I love that.
Right.
I love that.
Literally. Kehlani Jordan, Monet Talk, that's a very good point. Kehlani Jordan, and MDB says Kehlani Jordan could be a dark horse. So this is already lining up to be a really good match or tournament in itself. As opposed to the way they did it for the men's. If I remember correctly, it was a 6-man ladder match, I want to say, for the North American title. I believe like somebody like Ricochet were in there, and
Ricochet, Adam Cole.
There was Lars Sullivan, and names we haven't heard in God knows.
There's a name.
But this women's division in NXT is going to grow big time, and I'm excited to see what happens with that. Let's see. Moving forward, we have also had some good stuff going on last night between the big boys. We had Oba Femi and Ivar. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this match was a little shaky in some spots for me. And of course, I'm sure they've done all they needed to do as far as their in-ring work to prepare for the match and everything like that, because Ivar's a beast and Oba Femi goes without saying. But what did you guys think of this showdown between these two behemoths of wrestlers?
It's me.
We like me. Boss lady, you can go ahead and start.
It was a great match. I feel like and I don't know if you can confirm this, Professor. I feel like the bigger guys, the meatier guys, are definitely way more agile. Like, have Avar jumping off the third rope. You have them doing things that I don't think we saw bigger men doing like 20 years ago. And it's amazing to see. And, now it also proves to like kind of going back to the combine, because I think MDB 999 said Lash Legend would run circles. And it's kind of like when I'm thinking of mine, I've done quite a few combines back in the day. It was the combination of, because it's not somebody just has the brute strength. They need to have the speed. They need the agility, all the stuff. And it's not often the one who stands the tallest, is the strongest. It's the one who kind of is a hybrid in the middle. And it feels like how WWE is training their up and comers, their NXTers. It doesn't matter about size either way, whether you're big or small. It's like everybody almost has those same set of athletic abilities, and it's wild to see. And it's crazy to see what we will see in the next 5 years, because I also think health-wise, they're training them to be safer. And so now we're going to see them do crazier things, but with less injury, which is going to be like, at what level of athleticism are we going to see these wrestlers go? It's going to be completed. So nonetheless, back to the match. It was amazing to see. It wasn't just two men slapping meat. It was two men jumping off the rope and slapping meat, which was also incredible.
Right. Love the reference. So, Professor, I'll ask you this question. Now that Ivar is out of the way for Obafemi, so it seems, and during that match, we had a very particular surprise from a former North American champion, a gentleman who has never lost this North American championship. How do you feel about the appearance of Wesley at the end of that match, and what kind of threat do you think that poses for Oba?
Well, first, I'm so excited that Wesley is back. I remember when Wesley had to, basically leave the sport. The shape that he was in was really, really sad. And it was unfortunate because, they had said it was going to take about 9 months or so, and he's definitely returned faster than that. He ended up leaving around October or so, because it was around Halloween Havoc, if I remember correctly, that he was supposed to get that title shot, or might have been a little earlier. But to be back now is certainly before 9 months. So that's exciting to see. Him leaping into the ring was very intentional for us to see, oh, no, I'm really good. And now this adds a whole new wrinkle to things, because the question really was, who would end up taking out Obafemi? You throw Wes Lee into the equation, this gets really interesting, because now you want to see kind of this David versus Goliath situation, and how Wes Lee could handle someone like Obafemi, who has been so incredibly dominant. And so then you throw Josh Briggs into the equation, and we got a situation on our hands. But I'm so happy to see Wesley back where he belongs, and back in great shape. I'm really, really happy about that.
Yeah, it seems that Wesley has one thing on his mind, and that seems to be the North American Championship. He intentionally came out after that match was over. He didn't do it in a cowardly way, where he showed up and he made his point known, and him jumping into the ring was very, 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 very impactful, because it's like, dude, when we saw you, you could barely even move. And now here you are in front of us. You are a machine. And it's with the David and Goliath reference. It gives me very Rey Mysterio, Batista, it gives Brock Lesnar versus anybody little, or Daniel Bryan situation. It's like he's now become the underdog somewhat, but he's not really, because he has held that championship and he hasn't lost it. So he has some kind of an upper hand on that situation. But congratulations to Wesley for going through the recovery so fastly, and congrats to Obafemi for retaining the title. Can't wait to see what these two could do going forward, and also with Josh Briggs in the mix. Who knows where this is going to go? It just seems like it's going to be a lot of chaos for sure. Can we give MDB a womp womp? He needs a womp womp. The more than meets the eye. I just can't deal. You need a womp womp. Early in the morning for you, just before before the after.
I think he looks for it. And while you're doing that, really I don't know if you want to give your handles, Professor.
Yes.
Well, sure. Very quickly, I've got to head out. I will be back this evening for WWT Live, so I'm looking forward to that. But you guys can find me, of course, at Bonnerfied across all of the socials. You can check out my commentary work with let's see, SHW, Southern Honor Wrestling, and IWE. That's on IWTV. My work with All Caribbean Wrestling is on their YouTube page. My work with the Nightmare Factory and Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling is all on the Nightmare 3 page. You can check out my work with Ashe Wrestling at AsheWrestling.com. And in case you missed it, you can check out the replay now of the Shad Gaspard Memorial Cup Tournament, which is airing right now on Triller TV. Check out the replay. I had the privilege of doing commentary for that as well. So I'd love to get your feedback. A huge night. Super honored to be a part of that. And again, I will be back here in just a few hours for WWT Live. I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks,
All right,
Professor. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming in.
And there you go, MDB 999, just doing what you do.
He's earned himself a couple from this morning, so yeah, there might be more coming soon for you. But let's just proceed. And as always, good to have the professor on with us. We also had tag team action unexpectedly. We'll just go lightly into that. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and the debut of Tyson DuPont and Tyreek. I do not want to say this name wrong. Igwe, I think that's how they said it.
Igwe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't want to butcher that, but shout outs to them because they were giving me some Harlem Heat status last night.
Mm-hmm.
It was very reminiscent of Booker T and the way they used to do in the WCW, and kind of their look reminded me of the late great Shad Gaspard as well. So it was really cool to see, and shout outs to Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson as always for doing what they do, and we're going to be seeing them on Raw. So, and I guess NXT is just, was just a little small phase for them. And then they're going to proceed back to Raw. So we'll see where they go with that. But also shout outs to Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe for their debut last night on NXT. They had a very great showing. Really quick, you want to touch on that, boss lady? What did you think of it?
Yeah, I don't think it was. So MDB 999 saying they did them boys dirty jobber entrances and they got them squashed. And they got squashed. I don't think so because they had like a whole video introducing them. And I'm always from, there's a hierarchy of people who you root for, and I'm always rooting for my West Indian folks. When they said Haitian, obviously I perked up a little bit. But then they also said they said shot putters, so I love my track my track people as well. So I'm really interested to see how this is all gonna play out. I mean, for their first their first kind of foray in with the cameras, NXT, the crowd, all the things. I think it was a really good look for them. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more of what they do. And they have MDB, something we can agree on. They were definitely dressed like Crime Time. We definitely saw that. So it was like Crime Time infused with Harlem Heat, I would say. And I think they're going to be going a lot of good places in NXT. They're gonna be a great addition.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, speaking of, we'll continue with the tag team action. We had AOP versus Nathan Frazier and Axiom last night, and Nathan Frazier and Axiom are still your reigning defending NXT tag team champions. Boss lady, what do you think of this match?
I think this is a great match. I loved how Street Profits gave them a little pep talk. I think it's every when I think back to this comment that X-Pac had made to me when I was first kind of starting in this hosting type stuff, as far as the ebbs and flows of pay-per-views and shows and stuff like that. I think depending on who you're rooting for, what you like most of what storytelling, it's the ebbs and flows. Like it might be a low for you, but a high for somebody else. This to me was more of like, okay, I need to make sure, like, because it was quite late when I started checking everything out. So this match was great, but I couldn't necessarily give it my full attention because I already knew there was other matches that would come. However, nonetheless, the way the Street Profits set it up, it seemed like an underdog type thing. And, I automatically, because I'm a fan of the Street Profits, wanted them to win too. No, that makes sense, but that's, my logic.
Whoever Street Profits root for, I feel you. But what's funny is that I'm not gonna lie, MDB. I kind of have to agree a little bit with this AOP comment. It sucks because they have been under the radar for so long. Even with all the releases were happening in the last few years, I know that they were going through a lot of like personal injuries and things like that. But they just seem to have a hard time breaking from the pack. Boss lady, what do you think they need? Like what is, do you think that it was worth it to go at the tag team champions? Do you think it did them any favors, or do you think that we need to see a little bit more from AOP, or what their formula is going forward?
It might be a rebrand, but I say this in not like a complete overhaul. It just might be figuring out how to connect with the audience for us to buy into them. Again, referencing Becky Lynch's book, she's talking about the ebbs and flows of her career, and going and coming, and kind of waiting for almost like that right wave in surfing. And so maybe it's just waiting for that right time. And with the shifts, with the drafts, it just feels like on top of that, I don't know, I got this feeling like NXT is kind of ushering into a new era, the Trick Willie era, which I feel like and the fact that Ava is the manager, I feel like we're going to start seeing some shifts. And there are some really great storylines, but maybe it's just their storyline for us to really invest in them is around the corner. So it might be a timing, it might just be a timing thing, because I feel like they're looking, everything is there. It's just like they just need the right kind of story for us to kind of like really kind of invest in.
Yeah,
the connection.
And they were in NXT many years ago, and they were pretty legendary in the beginning to begin with Paul Ellering, and they were also tag team champions, if I'm not mistaken, at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just, I guess they're just trying to find their footing, and we'll just see where that goes forward. Because, I mean, Ava is doing a damn good job, if you ask me, with all the shifting going on and all the changes. And let's see, speaking of changes, there's a change in friendship between Miss Thea Hale and JC Jane. It has finally over, at least so far for now, what we think. Thea Hale has come up on JC Jane, and it got a little bloody. It got a little aggressive, and there was just a lot of chaos in that match. But Thea Hale triumphed, and so it's always good to see her triumph, because JC Jane has been kind of a bully to her for the last couple months, and Thea finally got her lick back on JC Jane. So and she was leaking for sure. Yeah, leaking blood. Just got to make sure we're very specific. But what did you think of this match?
This is a great match. It's a setup. Like, what I really loved about this was that it was a setup for other things, obviously with Fallon at the end. But this was a really great match, and I really like the fact that, and I've said this plenty of times, when you're watching a match, you don't quite know who is going to win. And sometimes you have a match, it's a setup to something else, and we already know the outcome. We're just watching the match. With this match, I just felt like, okay, I don't know who's gonna win in this. Booker T was really making a case for Chicken, which is
oh my god, he really
which is great. Yeah, so it was just kind of like, okay, well, where are we going with this? But we ultimately saw what the setup was, and now Chase U's been around for a minute. I guess after I say this, the next question is like, do you see Chase U in the main roster? But with Thea Hill winning, I think it was well deserved. She's been, at it almost kind of like a Lash legend. She's been at it. We've seen her growth. That's the great thing about NXT. You kind of see where they're starting, and you kind of see where they're ending up, even just as talent-wise, wrestling talent-wise. So ultimately Thea won, but then we saw what happened with her and Fallon. And now the question I thought at the end of it is, can you see Chase U in the main roster?
Chase U in the main roster. I mean, being that they're since we're talking about it, I want to make something a little known, if anybody didn't notice. MDB, I don't know. I would agree with you maybe months ago, but I don't think they should end Chase U. And I think they could move to the main roster, being that there's been a lot of faction moving around in the draft. I don't know if anybody's noticed that.
Yeah.
And I think that they're planning some really big moves for a lot of these factions. And Chase U would be a good addition, I think. They've grown on a lot of people. They have a great following, and they've done their work in NXT. I would like to see them somewhere on the main roster. I'm not sure about SmackDown, maybe Raw. Monday night show being, obviously they wear red and black. I think it would just be the obvious choice for certain things like that. But I would have to say that Chase U has really grown on me, and it's all because of Thea Hale. Thea Hale is Chase U. Even when she kind of started to drift from that, I was just like, no, don't do that. Bring her back to Chase U, and don't keep her with JC. I do love the buildup that they had with both of them as their friendship started to, get a little entangled. their entanglement friendship. But JC also is kind of the dark horse throughout this whole storyline because she has been she, like you said, she's been putting in the work. And you know, she's honestly someone I didn't think would break out from the toxic attraction group as much as she has compared to Gigi, you know, getting makeovers from Ariana Grace and stuff like that. I would say JC's well on her way to also being someone who could end up being on the main roster, and maybe we could see this kind of rivalry continue, and it could be something that lasts a while. But Chase U could definitely go to the main roster, and I think I kind of would like that kind of. And also, if anybody had noticed, there was a glitch last night on NXT. We never got glitches on NXT. We got a supposed Uncle Howdy. Everybody's saying it could be possibly Uncle Howdy. We don't know what it is, but there was a glitch that showed up on NXT, and it showed up during Ridge Holland and Shawn Spears' match, which was really weird. But it only told me one thing: no matter where you're going, no one is safe. Don't know who it is. Don't know where they're coming from. Don't know how many people are coming. But Uncle Howdy's Keith Lee. You know what?
Oh my goodness.
MDB dismissed. But yeah, so I just wanted to make people know about that and that's why I also see Chase U on the roster. But if they don't go to the main roster, either way, nobody's safe. So I just wanted to remind people that there was a glitch last night during NXT, and that never happens. That was the first one I've seen, at least anyway. You had to catch it really fast because it only happened once, I believe. But that's something to keep an eye on, and it could have to do with anybody on this roster, maybe so. You never know. I mean, with this draft, who knows? Because there's just so much going on and a lot to keep up with, and it's hard to a little bit. But last but not least, the match of the night, the match everybody was waiting for, especially Ced was waiting for, I'm sure. Ced was definitely high on in Vice City, and, you know, making sure the constituents were there for the watch party to watch their Lola Vice go at Natalya, and she did conquer the Queen of the Dungeon. This match, to say the least, was actually a lot better than I expected. And for it being only like 10-15 minutes and maybe a little 5-10 minutes over time for the actual time of NXT after 10 o'clock was kind of crazy to me, but it just made it more interesting, and I didn't know what to expect at first. There was a lot of storytelling in it, and we have Lola Vice taking out the Queen of the Dungeon. What do you think about that, TK?
I mean, I loved it. I agreed with you. I didn't know necessarily what to expect. I mean, obviously we know Natalya. I mean, obviously great wrestler. Her training, if you watch it too far on social media, like she stepped up her training. Her barbells even have her last name on them. So like, you know, that means you're really committed if you now like really put your name on the barbells. So I didn't know what to expect because Lola is an expert in ground and pound, and she had Shayna in her corner. Which I think is interesting to see. I think it might give Shayna something to do and reestablish herself. I mean, obviously, you know, we know Shayna from her NXT run, which was crazy. And, you know, she's, you know, again, of the ups and downs of being on the main roster. But I think this Lola Vice pairing might be something interesting for a story in the future, which I'm interesting to see. I personally thought going in that Lola was going to win because she needs the win more than Natalya, but doesn't mean that the fight, because it was way more than a match. The fight wasn't, you know, crazy interesting. You know, obviously there was no ring ropes. It was all open. Within the first, 30 seconds, I think it was Natalya took Lola off it and she was on the floor. She landed on two other people and was still punching the hell out of this chick. So Chaos. It was just, it was great. It was something that was like, oh wow. It was a nice change of events, and I could definitely see something like this visually if it's not already. Because I know WWE has a partnership with, you know, ESPN. I could see something like this showing up on ESPN and them talking about it. All the other matches, yes, but this one in particular was so different. And then also with Lola's background and then Natalya's pedigree, it's just like, I could see them talking about like, oh, at WWE NXT is going into a new direction, and this is what they did last night. So you know, it was just definitely a great match. Everybody, I mean, I think people who go to watch NXT, you have to be a lover of NXT. I am more of a stoic fan. Like, I like just to watch, and you know, I'll give you applause, but I'm not the one who's yelling. That's just not my MO. However, I believe that if I were to ever go to NXT, I might be that fan, because it's just the energy, the surrounding. Apparently, they got a standing ovation at the end. It was just a really, really great match, and it was whoever decided on this storyline, and I don't even think it's ending. I think there might be some other things coming out after this. Great decision.
Yeah, I definitely have to applaud the NXT production and lighting people, and the people who came up with the story and the arrangements for how the match was going to go and everything, because they did that, and it almost made it kind of look cinematic in a way.
Yep.
And you know, it made me feel like, wait a minute, am I still watching NXT, or is this a different kind of show? I think that this is something that they could definitely build off of. If you want to do underground, make it a whole separate show if you want to do that, and have matches that look just like that. Or, you know, or just make that a featured stipulated match, because it was very well done and it was well shot. It was just chaotic all around. Lola Vice, I mean, let's talk about it. Lola with them braids, with the car, she did not come to play. She came for blood, literally. And once I saw her look like that, I said, oh, okay, this is what you do, mama, and I am here for it. So it's, and you know, and obviously Natalya did her part. First of all, Natalya looks phenomenal. She looks fantastic. For all of y'all who you know, because I can't stand ageism and all that stuff. All those years that they were throwing that on her, and look at her, she's still putting over talent, and she still looks hella good doing it. So
yeah. Oh, actually,
Natalya,
I need to drop that interview. I asked her about her her diet, and she just said that she went into intermittent fasting. That's what she did. Wow. She was eating healthy for a long time, but apparently TJ had been doing, I really need to edit that. That's on the to-do list. But TJ had been doing intermittent fasting for a while. And so she started, and that's, you know, that in itself is, if you're familiar with that, we won't go into all the logistics. It's pretty tough to stay consistent on it, but once you kind of stay consistent past like 3 weeks, your body's gonna change in a very positive way. So
that's so cool.
That's one of the things too. Yeah,
good for her. I mean, I don't know if I could pull that off. I'm a carnivore. I need my food. I need my sustenance. But I don't know. Maybe I'll try it one day. But Natalya was on a whole nother level. She looked phenomenal. I definitely see there's a lot of story continuation coming from this match. I want to see them do it again. Honestly, it was that good.
Yeah.
And also, just really quick, before we go, I want to get into how the match ended and how it made Natalya look as far as going forward. Natalya didn't tap. It looked like in many cases that she could have, but I said there's no way they're gonna make this girl tap. She's a heart. She's a heart. She's a Neidhart. There's no freaking way. And then you have Lola with her background, and she's MMA and everything. It's like, oh, is she gonna tap? And she was held in that sharpshooter for a little while until the Queen of Spades, our Queen of Spades from NXT, one of the best NXT champions in my opinion, women's champions in my opinion, had completely taken out Carmen Petrovic in front of her, and Natalya had to make a choice between saving her friend or defeating her opponent, and Natalya chose saving her friend. TK, what do you think about that instance, that little instance that Natalya was put in, and what would you do?
I mean, I feel like if my friend knows how to fight, and you know, she just unfortunately got knocked out, then you know, we'll figure it out, you know, after I win. But if she doesn't know how to fight, then you know, I'll step in. But for the sake of storyline, I think it's a good lead into, especially I was gonna say Rebellion, but that was Las Vegas show. Especially the next show that's coming up. I can't think of the name of it. The next show that's coming up in Vegas at the Apex Center.
Battleground.
I feel like we definitely need to see Shayna there in some way, shape, or form. I feel like this might have been the tester as far as something that they're gonna do. Thank you, MDB 999 and Honey. Battleground. I feel like this is gonna be the tester as far as what they're gonna do in Vegas, because I have a very strange feeling because I have now been to Vegas 4 times in less than 5 months. I have a very strange feeling that based on WWE's last thing in Vegas, when they did the announcement for WrestleMania and The Rock came out, all this, which was different. Yeah. I feel like this show in Vegas, NXT, because NXT just feels like creatively they try to step out the box, be a little bit different from Raw and SmackDown. There's gonna be things that we haven't seen before. And the fact that it's in Vegas at the Apex, there's that UFC tie-in. It's going to be something different. And I think this match might be the kickoff to leading to something bigger, because literally it would be 5 to 6 weeks away. It's not that far.
No.
So I think this is going to be the start of something, and they'd be really missing out if Shayna's not included in some way, shape, or form. If it's a turn, or her and Natalya, or her or Shayna and someone else. I think, and I don't know, Shayna just seemed she loves. I think it was SummerSlam of last year where we saw her at the Starbucks. I think I saw her at the Starbucks. I don't know. It's all blended together. We saw her at the Starbucks, and I think she had like a certain order. And you saw how she was walking up with Lola drinking her Starbucks, but she seemed like she was very much in her element. Like she knows this. It's almost like you've graduated from high school, you go back to elementary school. At least that's what I used to do. I used to go back to my elementary school all the time. Like, you're big-ish. You go back to your elementary schools, like, this, you've been this, you've done all 8 years or 6 years or whatever your elementary school was. So I felt like she was very comfortable, and I feel like this is like the perfect time, especially with Lola with the MMA background, to bring Shayna in some way, shape, or form. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to it.
Shayna's definitely the X factor in this, and I definitely could see her being the headline. And if NXT doesn't make her the headline, I don't know. They're simmering the wrong cook. I guess they're simmering the wrong pot. But so I can't wait to see more of what unfolds after this NXT. And for it being the second night of spring break-in, it didn't feel like it at first. I felt like this could have been. It also had potential to be the first night, but I'm kind of glad it went this way, because at first when I was watching the first week, I was like, the championship match is tonight. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I would expect it like to be while Lola and Natalya's match was going on, or the same night of. But what a great way to showcase and highlight the women in NXT for both nights. And I think Shawn Michaels did a great freaking job at putting it all together. And like MDB says here, WWE and TKO have just been simmering. They're really about to start cooking this summer, which is wild to say considering what they've been doing. Yeah. And as you, and just to piggyback off of what you said, TK, Shawn Michaels is very known for being out of the box. He's always been that way. So I give them all the credit for how they've been arranging the shows, and how they've been just changing the wave of how NXT used to be seen shortly before, for that short moment with the colors, and not everybody was really feeling it. And, when that old man era was still around. But shout out to
old man era.
The old man era. I'm sorry,
Wow.
we're in the whoop that and Shawn Michaels era. Okay, so
that's
it.
Old man. I feel like on top of all the HR violations that Lash Legend and Trick had, I feel like there's some ageism there. Mind you, I crossed the line, for those who know me, I like all the time. But yeah, I feel like in the culture in today, I don't think you can say that.
No, I don't know. But
MDB 999 saying is Shawn Michaels is for the culture. I mean, what I did notice? What I did, and you guys could read between the lines for this one. What I did notice is that the fact that NXT will be on CW, and given all the new faces that we saw last night, I feel like it was a good choice. And NXT in some communities, especially with Jada Parker, Lashley, like in some communities, NXT might be the show to watch. Like you that might not be watching Raw or SmackDown
as much
for being on CW. So you can figure out what I just said with that. But I was like, oh, okay. I don't know if this is done on purpose. I just don't know. You're pulling from a lot of college athletes. A lot of the sports that they're pulling happen to be of a certain group of folks. But I'm curious to see how it's all gonna play out.
And one more question for you before we go. Fallon Henley heel turn. What did you think of that?
I think it's gonna be good. I feel like how they had the story set up, because we had Thea talking about, she was kind of sad that she didn't get called up, and you kind of forcing her out, which sometimes it works for people, sometimes it doesn't. Story wise and in real life, it could play out two ways. She can either have like an internal battle and then she rejoins Chase U, or this becomes a whole nother story where her and Thea go against each other, which will set up, I don't want to call it like this, but I feel like, because we're all very privy to it, the Trick Mello effect, where it's like you have the friends, you're no longer friends, but there's a legitimate reason why you're no longer friends. So, I feel like it's setting up for that. And when you have a good breakup of a friendship, not a bad one, like, oh, we're just no longer friends because I don't like you, it really makes something going. I was thinking about Nikita Lyons. I mean, hopefully she'll be back, and there's no more injuries on her home for that. But yeah,
we got Nikita Lyons in the wings, and let's not forget Miss Cora Jade. So there's gonna be a lot going on with that as we move forward with NXT. But that is all we have for today for our NXT post show, NXT tea time, whatever you want to call it. We appreciate everybody. TK, Boss Lady, where can everybody find you as we close out?
You can find me everywhere at TK Trinidad, and make sure you check out Women's Wrestling Talk on all social media platforms at WWE Talk Pod.
Awesome sauce. And don't forget, we got a lot of cool merch, a lot of cool content and interviews up. Make sure you guys go check that out. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. Monet Talk, MDB, Matt, of course. I'm not sure. I think that's pretty much what we had up in there. MDB was really talkative today. I appreciate that. Let's see. You can find me here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I will be here on later with the crew for WWT Live. You can also check out my Honey SmackDown watch along, 8 o'clock every Friday as well. You can follow me Instagram, Wrestling with Honey, TikTok, Wrestling with Honey, Facebook, Wrestling W Honey, and like and subscribe to new YouTube. That's going to be up and running soon. The Wrestling with Honey podcast. And as well, don't forget to check out my Honey Pot predictions on my socials. Boss Lady TK, we're going to talk about this book soon. Want to tell the people what we might be planning, or if is there anything in the works for the Becky review?
Yeah, we have actually two shows in the works. We're going to be doing a wrestling book club. So that will be dropping in the next week or so. Our first book is going to be Becky on demand. So if you haven't read it, go and read it. If you are not an avid listener or not an avid reader, go and check it out on Spotify or wherever you find your audiobooks. I checked out on Spotify. I have a premium account. It was really, really good. I got it done in like 2 days. So definitely go and check that out so we can all discuss. But yeah, we're going to be doing that on a monthly basis. And we have another show. I'm really excited about this one. It's going to take a little bit, probably about 4 weeks, but it's going to be about wrestling and love. So yeah,
interested.
Check that out as well.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. You got to spread as much love as possible, and we can't forget reading is fundamental. So for all you kids touching nothing but electronics, pick up a book every once in a while, or do a listening audio book. You never know where it could lead you. But that is all we have for today. I am your hostess, Wrestling with Honey. That is the Boss Lady TK, and we are Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's network on the planet. See you later, guys.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.